Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm doing a Gaia the Fierce Knight deck profile. So I'm super excited for this one because this deck actually just got a lot of new support in the new Rise of the Duelist set. All the way from a new Gaia the Fierce Knight monster to a retrain of Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons, where it was originally Gaia the Dragon Champion, and Sky Galloping Gaia the Dragon Champion, which you actually still play because it's an insanely good card. So I'm really excited to show you guys this deck because I always love nostalgic decks like this. I think that's some of my favorite profiles I do is the OG cards that get like original, the original cards that get retrains are really cool to me. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell near so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below because we have some awesome awards, you guys, like getting your name in the description for every single video, getting signed cards in the mail, and even getting requested deck profile just like this one every single month to your patron along with test hands. So without further ado guys, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Gaia the Magical Knight. So the first time I read this card, I was like, man, this card's really good, but it's not a Gaia the Fierce Knight, but it is. So in the name, it's Gaia the Magical Knight, but if you look in the card text, it says this card is always treated as a Gaia the Fierce Knight card, which is really good that they actually thought about that and was like, okay, because the copy of Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons requires a Gaia the Fierce Knight to fusion summon into it. So that's really good that they kept that in mind. So this card is kind of like Swift Gaia the Fierce Knight, but better. What this card does is if you control no monsters, or your opponent controls a monster with 2300 or more attack, you can normal summon this card without tributing. And if this card is normal or special summoned, then you can special summon one level 5 dragon monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. I wish it special summoned from deck, but hey, whatever. We then play a single copy of Gaia the Fierce Knight Origin. Gaia the Fierce Knight Origin is pretty good in the deck. It's always treated as a Gaia the Fierce Knight as well because it's Gaia the Fierce Knight Origin. And this card is treated as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a warrior monster, and you can only use the effect of Gaia the Fierce Knight Origin once per turn. You can send a level 5 or higher monster from your hand to the graveyard, special summon this card from your hand, and then during the battle phase, you can quick effect banish this card from your graveyard, and then target one monster on the field whose attack is different from its original attack, and it becomes its original attack, which is pretty good if you pop multiple cards on your opponent's side of the field with your copy of Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons and it goes down to 0, which we'll get into that effect later. You can actually increase it back up to 2600, which is why I play it as one of. The only other card that you could play in this position if you don't want to play the Gaia the Fierce Knight of Origin is you can actually play a single copy of Soldier Gaia. I'm not playing Soldier Gaia because I don't really particularly like it. It's like a win more card to me, so I'm not playing it at all right now, but you can drop out one of these to actually play the copy of Soldier Gaia. We then play 3 copies of Curse of Dragon, the Cursed Dragon, which has the most repetitive name ever, but I love the card artwork, and it's amazing the retrain that they actually did with this card. Because if it's normal or special summon, you get to add a spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists a Gaia the Dragon Champion in its text. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a Gaia the Dragon Champion you control and negate its effects. Negate the effects of face-up monsters your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to that card's until the end phase of the turn. So you can essentially skill draw on the field of your opponent's side of the field, which is really cool because you can get your Gaia the Dragon Champion when it comes out to 5200 on summon, which is pretty much skill drain. We then play a single copy of Curse of Dragonfire. Curse of Dragonfire I feel like is a good one of in here because if this card is normal or special summon, you can target a field spell card on the field and destroy it. And then once per turn, you can fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using this card you control as fusion material. Using monsters you control as fusion material, which is pretty good to be able to fusion summon. You can also, again, if you want to drop this one, you can drop this one for the Soldier Gaia. But I really like playing 4 Curse of Dragons and 4 Gaias because it helps me fusion summon into my monsters that much easier. Then we play 3 copies of Artillery Catapult Turtle. I think it's awesome that they actually gave Catapult Turtle a retrain and it actually fits in with the archetype, which is crazy to me. But you contribute 1 monster to special summon a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster or a level 5 dragon monster from your hand or deck. It essentially searches and summons any of these to your side of the field, which is really, really good. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's really good just to stop our opponent from all the shenanigans. And then 2 copies of Nibiru. 2 copies of Nibiru are really good in this deck because you can use the Nibiru to essentially give it to your opponent, give your opponent a Nibiru token, tribute all their monsters on their side of the field. Then when you go into the copy of the Gaia, the Magical Knight of Dragons with the Spiral Fusion. It can attack multiple times and you OTK your opponent. So Nibiru is pretty good in this deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn because you're going to be fusion summoning a lot in this deck, and it's really easy to just revive one of your monsters to help you OTK. A single copy of Terraforming because you play 2 different field spells in this deck, which is kind of cool. We play a single copy of Set Rotation because you're trying to get your field spell on your side of the field as quickly as possible because it searches your Gaia or it gives you the Curse of Dragon, whichever one you need. 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. Pot of Extravagance is really good in this deck because you don't need all the cards in your extra deck. As long as you have either your Gaia, the Magical Knight of Dragons, or your Sky Galloping Gaia, the Dragon Champion, as long as you have either of those, you're pretty much okay. I mean, you can get rid of the rest of the extra deck. And that's what's really cool about this deck, is it makes it relatively budget, especially with Pot of Extravagance getting a reprint. It makes it relatively budget, especially with being able to banish your extra deck to draw 2 cards at the beginning of your main phase. We then play a single copy of Dragon's Mirror. Dragon's Mirror helps us go into multiple Gaias, which is really cool. 2 copies of Ultra Polymerization. Ultra Polymerization is kind of a sneaky tech card that I play in this deck, because if you fusion summon into your copy of your Gaia fusion monster, then you can actually immediately special summon those 2 monsters at the cost of 2,000 life points back to your side of the field, which then you can use them to attack your opponent, or if you have a copy of Spiral Fusion, then you can use the Spiral Fusion to fusion summon into another Gaia and make it 2,600 attack points higher. We then play 3 copies of Spiral Fusion. Spiral Fusion is hands down the best card in the entire deck, and the card that you want to see the fastest because it lets you fusion summon a Dragon Fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from your hand or field as fusion materials. And if you can special summon a Gaia the Dragon Champion by this effect, it gains 2,600 attack and also can make 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase, which is pretty cool. I like that effect. It basically makes it so it can attack twice, and it gains up to all the way up to 5,200 on summon, which helps it OTK your opponent. We then play 3 copies of Galloping Gaia, which is a field spell in the deck. I really think this card could have been a continuous spell, but I guess they made it a copy of a field spell because you can get it faster and it works with the Curse of Dragonfire. But your opponent cannot activate cards or effects during the battle phase while Gaia the Dragon Champion is in your monster zone. And it has the ability that you can either reveal the Gaia monster, Gaia the Fierce Knight monster in your hand to add a level 5 dragon, which is the Curse of Dragon, or you can reveal a level 5 dragon and then add a Gaia to your hand. So it lets you reveal the piece that you have to get the other one, so you can get the dragon and get Gaia, which is kind of cool. We then play 3 copies of Gateway to Chaos. Gateway to Chaos is really good in this deck too, because when this card is activated, you get to add a Blackluster Soldier or a copy of your Gaia the Fierce Knight monster from your deck to your hand. Fun fact, if you look at Soldier Gaia, this is actually Blackluster Soldier, because Gaia the Fierce Knight turns into Blackluster Soldier in the lore, which is kind of cool. And if you look, and when Yugi actually summons Gaia the Fierce Knight against Mai, and then tributes it with Kuriboh to summon out the copy of Blackluster Soldier, he's tributing the horse, and he's tributing Kuriboh to summon Blackluster Soldier, which is the rider that turns into, which is Gaia, that turns into Blackluster Soldier. So basically what you're using this card to do is to immediately activate it and then grab a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster. We then play 2 copies of Spiral Spear Strike. Spiral Spear Strike to me is a 2 of in the deck because I think it's just really good, because when a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster or Dragon Champion or Swift Gaia the Fierce Knight monster on your side of the field attacks and inflicts piercing damage, which is really good. And then if a Gaia the Gaia the Dragon Champion inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you get to draw 2 and discard 1, which is really good. We then play 3 copies of Call by the Grave. Call by the Grave is a really good card in this deck too, because it just stops your opponent while you're trying to search to get what you need out of the deck to OTK them. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the trap. We only play 1 trap, which is a single copy of Spiral Reborn. So Spiral Reborn, this is like the 3rd archetype that has Spiral in the name. We have Spirals, we have Phantasm Spiral, and then we have this, which is really kind of cool. And it's spelled, all 3 of them are spelled 3 different ways, so whatever. But what this card does is you get to target level 7 or lower dragon monster in your graveyard, and then special summon it. And if you special summon a Gaia the Dragon Champion by this effect, your opponent cannot target it with card effects, and it cannot be destroyed by their card effects at all, which is really good to be able to just revive your copy of your Gaia the Dragon Champions back to your side of the field. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Gaia, the Magical Knight of Dragons, which is the new big boss monster of the deck. And what this card does is this card's name becomes Gaia the Dragon Champion, and then while this card's on the field, you can only use this effect once per turn. And then during the main phase, you can quick effect, so it's during either player's turn, you can target one card on the field, this card loses exactly 2600 attack, and if it does, destroy that card. And then when this card destroys opponent's monster by battle, you can make this card gain 2600 attack. So if it attacks twice on your turn, and then you destroy 2 monsters by battle, and it comes out at 52, it'll go up to 10,000, over 10,000, and have 4 pops sitting on it, which is pretty cool if you don't OTK your opponent off of just summoning this card. We then play 3 copies of Sky Galloping Gaia the Dragon Champion. This card is still a really insane 3 of in the deck, because what it does is when this card is on the field, if this card is special summon, you can add a Spiral Spear Strike from your deck or graveyard to your hand, and then while this card declares an attack, you can change the battle position of the opponent's monster, which can change him to defense position, will make your copy of your Spiral Spear Strike with piercing damage still work, depends on which one's lower, the attack and defense, to deal the maximum amount of damage. We then play 3 copies of Red Eye's Flare Metal Dragon. This card's really good in the deck too, because you play a lot of level 7s in the deck to burn your opponent out for particular damage that you need. We play a single copy of Big Eye just to take our opponent's monsters. You can play 2 and 2 of these, but I think 3 and 1 is fine. I mean, I don't really mind if I banish it. Usually I'm just going into these over here anyways. And then I play an Access Code Talker package in the deck, which is a single copy of Access Code Talker just to be able to pop stuff. You can change this out for Borreload if you want to change it out for Borreload. You don't have to play all of these. Unicorn is really good. I would say Unicorn's mandatory because it helps you spin stuff. Phoenix to pop spells and traps, Cerberus to pop monsters, and then a single copy of Verte Anaconda. Anaconda, I thought about playing it too in this deck. And this is before the ban list, so I don't know if it's going to get limited. I would imagine it's probably going to get limited, so I just played it at 1. But this card's really good in deck too, because you can use it with your copy of your Spiral Fusion to be able to grab it out of the deck, or use it with any of the Ultra Polymerization if you needed to use it with Ultra Polymerization as well. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really cool deck to play around with, and very budget for the main deck besides the Pot of Extravagance, which did just get a reprint, so I wouldn't anticipate it being very expensive for very long. Especially if you get it soon after the Megatins come out, it probably will stay low. But that's it for the deck, guys. The only thing I really wish they would do about this deck is make it so you can actually play the original Gaia the Fierce Knight, the vanilla one. But hey, I understand Gaia the Magical Knight is a retrain of it, and it's still him, so it's okay. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below. And check out that Patreon for those awesome rewards, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.